Hi, I'm Ray Bansell and I'm going to show you my layout Woodleigh-sub-Mendip, which is based on North Somerset in a very wide era which goes technically, I'd like to think, from late 40s to the mid 60s, but in reality I've got GW locos that precede that, and I have absolutely no problem with trying to focus on being specific to an era. My main interest is scenic modelling and buildings, and I would have to say from that respect I'm trying to, or attempting to, create things in 3D that I'm not very good at creating in 2D. So you could say it's an artistic outlet, if you like. The buildings on the layout you'll see come from various sources, and I'll go through and explain that as we go. They're not all based on North Somerset, although that whole point of it being an area I should say, that it's just one of those things that part of the country that I like, coming originally from Bristol. Used to also, having worked in Cheddar, familiar with certain parts of it. They talk about layouts of a lifetime, and I have to guess that this is probably my contribution to the genre. This layout's been in various forms for the last 25 years, ever since I was shown a pannier loco by a friend of mine in 7mm back in the mid-90s. 4mm fell to the side to be replaced by 7mm, and had to start all over again. From that perspective, I've had to build it in various forms. First I've had end-to-end, which was done in a garage, then into modifying it to fit into a shed, also end-to-end, and then finally in the current scenario it's a roundy, which is in a spare lounge in the house. My wife intended us to downsize at our age, but sadly it went the other way for my hobby. We've got a bigger house than we did before. I started railway modelling when I was 12, but the bar moved up dramatically in my late teens when I joined the Bristol 4mm group. Members of that group, a lot of very well-known modellers these days, and I was just going to tell you one little anecdote about a situation of me visiting Tony Reynolds. I was at Tony's house and he showed me a bicycle that he'd scratch built in 4mm with spokes, and I said to Tony, and these words haunt me ever since, "Why would you bother?" And his answer was, "Because I can." And I think we all have to agree that Tony, most certainly in his time, created exquisite models, and you can understand now why I feel really it was the wrong thing to say at the time. I think actually he's got some of his bicycles in 4mm that are on show at Pendon. Rest in peace, Tone. What I've done is taken, as I say, images that have taken my interest and worked them up from that. The buildings themselves are not facsimiles of buildings. The images often are just something to get me going, to stimulate an interest to build something. Now this is the cider press. It's called Cutler's Cider. Obviously being a Adge Cutler and the Wurzels fan from way back, I try to add some little fanciful bits and pieces in the naming of properties. In this particular case, would you believe, it's been said that they have a secret drinking room out the back, and if these go in there and have a couple of jars, these can't find their way back out. Alright, okay, back to normality. But in essence, this is built using card, good quality mounting card. The brickwork on these particular models is Regitex, as is the roof. The finish with regards to the stonework is principally by my painting the shells of the buildings with a mixture of PVA, plaster of Paris and a bit of water, but I do seal the buildings first to make them watertight with PVA and wait for that to dry. Scribing is done when everything is dry, and that's my principle with regards to doing rough stonework. If you move further over, the church is actually a scale of round about 2 mil in gauge language. It was primarily a laser cut kit that my son did for me, which I ended up cladding as well to make it a little bit more interesting with the flatness obviously of laser. This row of cottages here, called Bouncewell's Lane, was actually copied from or part of a row of cottages that exist in Launceston in Cornwall, where the family came from many moons ago. And in essence, the idea was really that there was something there that had something to do with my past, I guess, really, in my personal interest in Cornwall. As we move around a little bit further, this particular row, this terrace row, is an example of the houses that we first lived in Bristol when we got married in '71. It was a row of 5, it's been made a row of 3, and for the fun of it, I've added a open all hours Barker in Corbett shop on the end. As you would see, the name is Corbett and Corbett for the 2 Ronnies, obviously. Although it was only Ronnie Barker that was running the shop with Granville, and there's his bike outside, together with Nurse Gladys's Morris Minor 1000. The pub is from the village I was brought up in the burbs of Bristol. I don't think Ackerbilk ever got to play there, but I changed the name to the Sea Trout in memory of great times I've had staying at the Sea Trout Inn at Staverton on the South Devon Railway. Moving on from there, the Bakers, Wincliffe and Sons. Wincliffe was the street that I was brought up in back in Bristol. Just a generic workman's yard next to it. And then we've got Charlie's Motorcycles and a mini-me going back in time, where I used to actually buy the parts for my Triumph Bonneville at Charlie's on Fishponds Road in Bristol back in the 60s. The building next to it was a forge being converted into a garage, and as such, you guys would probably remember, if you're old enough, that once upon a time people actually did things for you, like put petrol in your car, and there would be a rubber hose that ran out the front, which when your car ran over it would ring a bell inside so that the attendant could come out and fill your car. Okay, the bus is from St Petersburg Tram Collection, but it's been modelled in Bath services, and the driver and conductor are in Bath Services summer uniform. The where can I take you now, Phil? Okay. The building, this building here is just a generic knock it up building to fill the space with an extension of a later date. I'm just a terror for just cutting card. I start chopping card up, and if it looks right and I'm happy with it, that's the way it stays. Oh, by the way, there's Ivo Peter's Bentley in the background there. I'm sure he's in there somewhere taking photos. The ground frame is based on Watlington, I think. And as we go around, you'll see other things that that were based on images that I'd seen in Paul Carew's excellent Great Western Branch Line Termini combined edition. It's one of those books that every Great Western modeler should have on the shelf at home. As we move further around, we come out into the countryside. The problem I'm faced with is space. This is all jammed into a relatively small space. So what I've attempted to do really is to try and hide the fact that the layout is actually squeezed into a room which is only approximately 4.3 by 5.7 metres. Some areas, like the tunnel for instance, behind the church, is part and parcel of me trying to hide the fact that the curves are quite tight. But as they say with railway modelling, if you actually look at curves from an inside perspective rather than an outside perspective, they don't look quite as bad. So the whole idea is this layout is always viewed from the inside for obvious reasons. This particular property here is the retired station master's home. Station master Trevor Pott is going to build, I understand, a layout of Churston in the conservatory. I think he still needs to move the aspidistra first though. The interest about the whole area here is a suggestion really that it's based on Midford. Well, Midford was the inspiration, but it certainly most definitely is not Midford, although from a point of view of history, the canal at this point in time is being superseded and is derelict. It was obviously the railway branch line then came and put it out of business. From that then, obviously times move on, and the net result of it is that the branch line ended up being lifted as well. So there's only one rail link through the scene now. The general feel of it really, I guess people look at it and think of Midford because there's certain aspects of it that are stolen from the real Midford, but no, it's most certainly not. I've got quite a few things still to do on the layout, and one of the things I need to do is a couple more specimen trees. And yes, Gordon, I've got your books on how to make trees, so I will be poring over them and trying to improve on what I've done to date. Okay, this corner that you're looking at now I call Pillbox Corner because there's a pillbox up in the distance there. In an effort to try and give me some distance, you'll see that I'm using 7mm sheep in the foreground, 4mm sheep in the middle ground and 2mm sheep in the background, which forces the perspective to think really that the layout is deeper than it really is. The engine shed, loosely based on, I was going to say the engine shed was based on Malmesbury, as was the water towel in coaling stage. What else can I tell you about this? A number of the buildings on the layout have been created and named businesses after mates. Over there is our good friend the late Graham Ellery's metal supply business. and next to us Mr. Harding's Motors, who happens to be our cameraman, producer and everything else for the day, as well as being the guild rep. Next to that is Copsey and Brown, who are manufacturers of round tuits, and we could all do with round tuits. I could do with a few more, I must admit. The building on the end is Metherell's Cabbage Wholesalers, who claim proudly that they are the suppliers of Savoys to the Savoy. Everything you see here is scratch built and carved, except for the signal box. The signal box top is Pico. However, when I built the bottom to go with it, it dominated the scene. So threw the bottom away, re-staged the steps and built a base in card, scribed as I normally do. The station building, the goods shed building is based on Tetbury, but likewise again, it just gets me started to actually make things up as I go along. There is actually unusual for me some detail both inside the goods shed and also in the office. The station building itself is one of those ones that you can't really get away from it when you're actually creating real railway buildings, and that's based on Abbotsbury, and likewise again various bits and pieces. The piggery started life after seeing an image of a door and a window, and then I started cutting card and extending it out to the length I felt looked right. The walls are hand scribed other than the Regitex insets of bricks. The roof is Regitex as well. Great product. As you'll note, this particular piggery has been converted into a model railway club, and they have a Gauge Guild section, of course. Why wouldn't they? This next building is based on stabling for horses, which of course is now defunct as time's gone on. And likewise, this end building here is the Glue's Glue Works, stolen from an image I saw whilst on holiday in Bristol, but named after a certain Graham Lewis, but I just couldn't help myself. G. Lewis, Glues, so obviously that's how that's come to pass. There will not be another layout after this one, although probably being forced to move out of here at some stage into my dotage. It may be some kind of mini layout, which is an end-to-end shunter. Well, that's a quick overview of the layout. I trust you enjoyed the visit, and thank you very much.